The Dravidian peoples are a diverse group of ethnic communities native to South Asia, united by their shared use of Dravidian languages. Approximately 250 million people speak these languages. Dravidian speakers make up the majority of South India's population and are also found in regions of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, the Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. It is believed that Proto-Dravidian, the ancestral language, was spoken during the Indus civilization, with estimates placing its origin around the early 3rd millennium BCE. Over time, Proto-Dravidian evolved into various distinct languages. The division into South Dravidian worst, pre-Tamil, and South Dravidian II, pre-Telugu, occurred around the 11th century BCE, with other major language branches separating around the same period. Dr. Vishnupriya Kolapakam from the Wildlife Institute of India has suggested that the Dravidian language family is approximately 4,500 years old, a conclusion that aligns with both linguistic and archaeological research. The origins of the Dravidians are a complex and debated subject. While they are generally considered indigenous to the Indian subcontinent, some theories suggest they may have deeper pre-Neolithic connections to Western Asia, particularly the Iranian plateau. Their history is often linked to the Indus Valley civilization, with the Dravidians and their language spreading east and south following the decline of the Indus Valley civilization in the early 2nd millennium BCE. Some theories propose that this migration occurred just before the arrival of Indo-Aryan speakers, with whom they had significant interactions. Although some scholars speculate that Dravidian languages were brought to India via migrations from the Iranian plateau as early as the 4th or 3rd millennium BCE, reconstructed Proto-Dravidian vocabulary suggests that these languages are native to India. Genetically, the people of the ancient Indus Valley were primarily descended from Iranian hunter-gatherers and farmers, with varying contributions from local hunter-gatherer populations. Modern Dravidian speakers are primarily descended from ancient South Indian hunter-gatherers, with additional ancestry from the Indus Valley civilization, a small portion from Western steppe herder populations, and potentially some contributions from other local groups. Dravidian visual art is primarily characterized by intricate temple architecture and the creation of stone and bronze sculptures. Notably, sculptures from the Chola period have become iconic symbols of Hinduism. The Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple in Tamil Nadu, India, is an example of a major temple built in the Dravidian architectural style. The largest Dravidian ethnic groups include the Telugus from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the Tamils from Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Singapore, the Kannadigas from Karnataka, the Malayalis from Kerala, and the Tulu people from Karnataka. The Dravidian language family is one of the oldest in the world. The most widely spoken Dravidian languages are Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Brahui, spoken in parts of Baluchistan, Iran, and Pakistan, Tulu, Gondi, and Korgi. The influence of Dravidian grammar on the structure and syntax of Indo-Aryan languages is considered to be much more significant than the reverse influence. Some linguists suggest that Middle Indo-Aryan and New Indo-Aryan languages developed over a Dravidian linguistic substratum. There are also many Dravidian loanwords in Indo-Aryan languages and vice versa. David McAlpin's Elamo-Dravidian hypothesis proposes that Dravidian languages were brought to India by migrants from Elam, modern-day southwestern Iran. However, the origins of the Dravidian languages remain a topic of debate among linguists, with various theories being put forward, including the suggestion that Dravidian languages are indigenous to India. Proto-Dravidian, as a reconstructed language, does not appear in historical records. Its existence is based entirely on linguistic reconstruction. It is believed that Proto-Dravidian was spoken around the 4th millennium BCE and began to diverge into various branches by the 3rd millennium BCE. According to Krishnamurti, Proto-Dravidian may have been spoken during the Indus Valley civilization, with a rough date of around the early 3rd millennium BCE. He further suggests that the South Dravidian I, including pre-Tamil, and South Dravidian II, including pre-Telugu branches, began to separate around the 11th century BCE, with other major branches following shortly thereafter. The origins of the Dravidians remain a highly complex and debated subject. While they are generally considered indigenous to the Indian subcontinent, some theories suggest they have older pre-Neolithic roots from Western Asia, particularly the Iranian plateau. Many believe their origins are linked to the Indus Valley Civilization, with Dravidian-speaking people and their language spreading east and south after the collapse of the Indus Valley Civilization in the early 2nd millennium BCE. Some propose this migration occurred just before the arrival of Indo-Aryan speakers, with whom the Dravidians interacted intensively. Although some scholars argue that Dravidian languages were brought to India via migrations from the Iranian plateau in the 4th or 3rd millennium BCE, or even earlier, the reconstructed vocabulary of Proto-Dravidian suggests that the language family is indigenous to India. Genetically, the ancient people of the Indus Valley primarily had ancestry from Iranian hunter-gatherers and farmers, along with varying amounts of heritage from local hunter-gatherer groups. Modern Dravidian speakers show a similar genetic profile, but also carry a small trace of Western steppe herder ancestry and may have further genetic contributions from local hunter-gatherers. While today, Dravidian speakers predominantly reside in southern India, it is believed that Dravidian-speaking populations were once widespread across the entire Indian subcontinent before the arrival of Indo-Aryan speakers. Horan Tudu notes that many scholars have tried to link the Dravidians with the survivors of the great Indus Valley civilization located in northwestern India, but this remains speculative, as there is no concrete evidence that the Dravidians were the post-Indus Valley refugees who settled in south and central India. One prominent scholar, Asko Parpala, has conducted extensive research on the Indus Valley civilization's script, and some suggest that the Brahui population of Balochistan in Pakistan may be a remnant group, possibly indicating that Dravidian languages were once more widely spoken before being largely replaced by Indo-Aryan languages. Asko Parpola, who believes the Harappans were Dravidian, points out that Mehrgarh, 7,000 to 2,500 BCE, located to the west of the Indus River Valley, is considered a precursor to the Indus Valley civilization. The people of Mehrgarh are thought to have migrated into the Indus Valley, eventually forming the Indus Valley civilization. Mehrgarh is one of the earliest sites in South Asia to show evidence of farming and herding. Lukács and Hemphill also note that, while there is significant continuity between the Neolithic and Chalcolithic, Copper Age cultures of Mehrgarh, dental evidence suggests that the Chalcolithic population did not directly descend from the Neolithic population. This implies that there was some gene flow. They also observed that the direct descendants of Mehrgarh's Neolithic inhabitants are found to the south and east, in northwestern India and the western Deccan Plateau. Interestingly, the Neolithic people of Mehrgarh show greater genetic affinity with the Chalcolithic population of Inam Gayon, located south of Mehrgarh, than with the later Chalcolithic inhabitants of Mehrgarh itself. The Indus Valley civilization, 2600 to 1900 BCE, located in the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent, is sometimes identified as Dravidian. As early as 1924, John Marshall, when announcing the discovery of the Indus Valley civilization, suggested that one of its languages might have been Dravidic. Researchers such as Henry Harris, Camille Zvelebil, Asko Parpola, and Iravatham Mahadevan have pointed to cultural and linguistic similarities as strong evidence supporting a Proto-Dravidian origin for the ancient Indus Valley civilization. Additionally, the discovery of a late Neolithic stone celt, possibly marked with Indus symbols in Tamil Nadu, dating to the early 2nd millennium BCE, has been considered by some as further proof linking the Indus Valley civilization with Dravidian culture. Linguist Asko Parpola suggests that the Indus script and the Harappan language most likely belong to the Dravidian language family. Parpola led a Finnish research team that used computer analysis to study the inscriptions. Operating under the assumption of a Proto-Dravidian connection, they proposed interpretations for many of the symbols, some of which aligned with earlier interpretations by scholars like Harris and Norozov, such as identifying the fish symbol with the Dravidian word for fish, min. However, they disagreed on several other interpretations. A detailed account of Parpola's work up until 1994 can be found in his book Deciphering the Indus Script. Paleoclimatologists believe that the decline of the Indus Valley civilization and the eastward migration during the late Harappan period were influenced by climate change, particularly a prolonged 200-year drought. This environmental shift likely contributed to the gradual loss of urban cohesion, with cities being abandoned during the late Harappan period. This was followed by eastward migrations, which occurred before the Indo-Aryan migration into the Indian subcontinent. The process through which post-Harappan or Dravidian influences spread across southern India is sometimes referred to as Dravidianization. This phenomenon is seen in the blending of the Indus Valley civilization and the ancient ancestral South Indian populations. However, Krishnamurti suggests that Dravidian languages might have reached southern India prior to the Indo-Aryan migrations. Dravidian languages had a significant impact on the Indo-Aryan languages. While Dravidian languages primarily influenced Indo-Aryan in terms of vocabulary, lexical borrowing, there are only a few examples of structural borrowing, phonological or grammatical. On the other hand, Indo-Aryan languages show more structural borrowing from Dravidian than lexical borrowing. Some of these influences can be traced back to the oldest known Indo-Aryan language, the language of the Rig Veda, dated around 1500 BCE, which includes over a dozen words borrowed from Dravidian. As we move from the early Samhitas through the later Vedic texts and into the classical post-Vedic literature, the evidence for Dravidian influence grows stronger, reflecting an early fusion of religious and cultural elements between the ancient Dravidians and Indo-Aryans. Mallory estimates that there are about 30 to 40 Dravidian loanwords in the Rig Veda. Some of these words, for which Dravidian etymologies are certain, include kulaya meaning nest, kulfa meaning ankle, danda meaning stick, kula meaning slope, and bila meaning hollow. Meanwhile, J. Block and M. Witzel argue that the Indo-Aryans likely moved into a region where Dravidian languages were already spoken after the oldest parts of the Rig Veda had already been composed. With the emergence of the Kuru kingdom, a process of Sanskritization began, which had a profound influence across India, particularly in the northern regions where Indo-Aryan languages became dominant. From the 3rd century BCE onwards, several powerful Dravidian empires and kingdoms emerged, including the Chola, Pandya, Rashtrakuta, Vijayanagara, Chalukya, and Western Chalukya empires. There were also numerous significant kingdoms such as the Chera, Chutu, Alupa, Pallava, Hoysala, Western Ganga, Eastern Ganga, Kadamba, Kalabra, Andhra Ikshvaku, Vishnukundina, Eastern Chalukya, Sena, Kakatiya, Reddy, Mysore, Jaffna, Travancore, Venad, Cochin, Kannanur, Calicut, and the Nayakas. We will explore these kingdoms in more detail in another video. Medieval trade and influence. During the medieval period, Tamil guilds and trading organizations such as the Ayavol and Manigramam played a crucial role in Southeast Asian trade. Merchants and religious figures traveled to Southeast Asia, significantly contributing to the cultural Indianization of the region. Local scripts like Grantha and the Pallava script influenced the development of many regional writing systems, including Khmer, Javanese Kawi, Baybayin, and Thai. Around this time, Dravidians also encountered Muslim traders, leading to the emergence of the first Tamil Muslims and Sri Lankan Moors. European contact, 1500 AD onward, Portuguese explorers such as Vasco da Gama were primarily driven by the desire to access the spice markets of Calicut, now Kozhikode in present-day Kerala. This led to the establishment of Portuguese colonies along the western coasts of Karnataka and Kerala, including Mangalore. During this period, Portuguese Jesuit priests also arrived and converted a small number of people in Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu to Catholicism, with the Paravars being among the most notable converts.